Hey, everybody, welcome to the Master Passive Income Show. My name is Dustin Heiner, and I'm here to help you get financial independence, quit that JOB, that just overbroke job, by investing in real estate. And today I brought on a super fantastic guest with me. She's a real estate investor, has multiple businesses, and has a full-time job as well. She's an engineer, but she has been growing in real estate investing. I wanted to bring her on to show us how we can invest. She also is one of the hosts of the Stacking Deeds podcast. um, it's just fantastic to meet other real estate investors, especially podcasting real estate investors. So this is awesome. I have Crystal Hammond on the show. Hey, Crystal, thank you so much for being here.
Well, hi, Dustin. Thank you for having me, and thanks for having this very important platform, to share stories. I'm a storyteller, so I like telling stories.
Same here. I find that the better stories that you tell, the better it helps the person that's listening. You're trying to either help or teach something or coach them on something. It really grabs in their brain. So, well, Crystal, let's jump into your story. Now, this is also going to be where we're just going to be having a lot of fun because you and I are friends. We've known each other for a little while now,
Mhm.
and it's so great that you and I actually get to talk about real estate. Because usually, when we're meeting each other or seeing each other, it's at conferences, and we're kind of in passing, so we don't get a chance to really talk about all the real estate. And then recently you said, oh, I started a podcast, the Stacking Deeds podcast, because real estate investing, this is great. We got to have you on the show. So how did you get into real estate investing? Because it's hard for some people to get started, but you're doing it. You have a duplex, you have a fourplex coming, but how'd you get into it?
Well, that a wise man once said, sometimes the time picks you. I remember years ago. Hi everyone. I am from the South Side of Chicago. People don't believe me when I say I grew up in the hood, but that's where I grew up. And one day, after I graduated college, I was, traipsing along renting. And the place that I grew up in, it's a duplex on the South Side of Chicago. And my mom still lived in one of the units, and the landlords wanted to sell the building. And so there were friends of mine who went to these real estate meetings, quote unquote. So I told them, I was like, hey, can I go with you to one of your real estate meetings? And my plan was just to meet somebody, become their friend, and say, hey, I know this place for sale. Can you buy it? But just don't raise my mom's rent. And, funny thing about real estate investors, they want you to become one too. They want to share the wealth. They want you to do what they're doing. So, long story short, the guy was like, "Why don't you buy it?" And he's like, "Do you have a job, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, but I can't buy real estate. Nobody in my family owns real estate. Like, why me? How am I gonna own real estate?" So, push come to shove, like, I ended up buying the duplex. So I lived in one unit, my mom lived in another unit. I was able to lower her rent because she was paying, like, her rent was over half of what the mortgage was going to be. Also, I even got money back at the closing because, negotiated having the seller pay for the closing
What
costs.
year was this?
This was back in 2005.
Okay.
And of course, in real estate, Dustin, things don't go to plan because one of the owners lived in Mexico right now. So we had to find them in Mexico, and the wife had died. So they had to prove that the wife died, and they had to, come back to America for the closing. So this was, I think I wanted to say, I started like in November. It didn't close till like March, I want to say. So congratulations, you're the proud owner of, a new
Well, you were
duplex.
doing house hacking before, obviously, that term
I didn't
was.
even know what it was, yeah, before it was popular, because now, I was just split in half, me and my mom paying the mortgage, and this was way cheaper than the rent I was paying. This is a place that I knew backwards and forwards, because this is where I grew up. I grew up, in the upstairs apartment. And so it was one of the first dreams come true. And then, so of course, that first real estate meeting, I kept going to more meetings because, this was a fun group of people. I was learning a lot. And then I actually learned about this program that the city had. So I thought I was rich. I was making, and it's interesting too, because people think you need to be rich. I was making $14 an hour when I bought that first place, but I didn't know it was considered low income. So there was a program with the city where I got a grant. It was a $50,000 loan. I had to pay back 25. They forgave 25 after 5 years, and I got to spruce up the place. So I redid the electrical, I knocked a wall down, I made the bathrooms bigger, I made a laundry room, I installed hardwood floors. So I totally redid my mom's whole kitchen, and that was fun. I think this Thanksgiving they had a lot of funny TikToks where people were throwing away expired stuff. My mom had stuff from the wedding, from her wedding when her and my dad got married in 78 that was unopened. I was like, we're throwing this stuff away. So I got to redo her whole kitchen and her bathroom too. And little did I would have never known about that program had I not been hanging out with other real estate people. And isn't that
That's
nuts?
amazing. It is, and it's fantastic, and that it's kind of fun on top of that because you become friends with all these other investors that they have
Yeah.
great ideas. And it honestly, what it really comes down to, I found, is literally getting out and talking to people. It's
Yep.
kind of it's easy just to sit back and not sit back, like just try to do it yourself. It's easy in your like
Mm-mm.
mindset. It's not easy to do it, but it's harder to get out, to go to a meetup and meet somebody. So I bet that you probably have still some friends that you met back then that you still
Oh,
either know
yes.
or talk to.
Yes, 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 because I'm a remote investor. I live in the DC area now, so my duplex is still in Chicago. And another thing, let people know your goals. A friend of mine knew that I was in real estate, so a friend told a friend. They were like, "Hey, make sure Crystal knows that the city has a program where they're selling vacant lots for $1." And I was like, "Shut up." So when did I found out about that program in like 2015. And another
This
interesting
is in
thing,
Chicago.
yeah, this is in Chicago. And another interesting thing about the time picking you, I'll never forget when I first bought that place in 2005. They're like, man, one day a developer's gonna come and develop the neighborhood, and your property value is gonna go up. And here we are in 2023, and it still hasn't happened. But so I found out about that program, and you have Dustin, you know this too. I'm gonna keep saying Dustin, you know this, but you know that you have to pack your patience in real estate and working with the city and finding good deals, because that first dollar lot, the program, I found out about it in 2015. It had just closed. So I was like, okay, next time they open the program, I'm applying. And you can apply for two lots per address. And you didn't even have to live in the city, but you had to already own. So already I kept my duplex, and my mom still lives there to this day. And so 2017, it took 2 years for them to reopen the program. So when it opened, I applied for those two. And so got the two lots for $1, had to pay like $99 for a recording fee. But this was great. And then they had the program again. So then I applied. So this time I had three addresses. So they only had a couple more property
So
stuff.
the
So I
ones that
applied.
you got more
Yeah.
proper. Okay, you get to
Yes.
apply more.
Yes. So now today it is funny. Pack your patience. 2023, I have 5 vacant lots now on the same block. And we actually closed during the pandemic because when they opened up the second round in 2020, I didn't close on that fifth lot until it was November, was it? No, August. It was August of 2023. This is how long it took for the city to work through. But hey, I was happily waiting. And unfortunately, I was collecting tickets too, because you have to keep the grass cut on the properties.
Totally.
And yeah, I did do that
Property
a couple of
taxes.
times. Right. Yeah. But I definitely stayed current on the property taxes. Like I made sure they had my address, and I would always log onto the site just to make sure I didn't miss anything, because they forgot to charge me one time. Of course, the tax man, they cometh. So they
It's
charged me for back taxes, but I was
uh,
ready for it because I had already budgeted for that. And little
so
did I know. Yeah.
I love your point too. And I love the saying, you don't wait to buy real estate. You buy real estate and then wait. It's just
Yeah.
over time. Eventually, something's going to happen where it's going to be developed, like this land, this lot that you have. Or let's say somebody wants to buy it from you, or the
Mhm.
big development is actually coming in and taking it, whatever it might be. There's always something coming, especially if you could buy it for $1. That's fantastic and pay for. Just make sure that, it's the lawn's cut. You know what's interesting? So I have a property in Youngstown, Ohio, and that's
Oh.
where I first got started. It's in fact, I tell my students, like, I encourage them to not invest in Youngstown because it's a really, really rough area to find property
Oh.
managers. You can't. It's so hard because it's just
Oh.
a really economically depressed area. That's the biggest thing. Being a remote investor, I don't want to manage the properties. I want somebody else to do it. But if you
Yep.
can't find a property manager, it's not going to be good for you. But because I found a really good property manager,
Cool.
then I just got it in the mail. As you were telling that story, you told that story for me about 3 or 4 months ago when we were at FinCon, or
Uh-huh.
the other conference that we go to. You were telling me the story. I was like, man, that would be awesome if I got that. I literally, oh no, it's literally sitting here on my desk. I literally have a here it is from Youngstown.
Mhm.
I literally have them saying, "Hey, we want you. If you mow the lawn next door to you, we'll give you the property." I was like, "What?"
Shut
So I
up.
know. And so I'm going to apply, and they obviously got to give it to me. But I
Yeah.
think you have to be adjacent to it. So there's, obviously I'm
Yep.
adjacent.
Yeah.
So hopefully the person next to me is not applying, and then I can
Oh,
just get that lot all by
man.
itself. So it's well, let me ask you this, because you've learned, obviously, there are government programs and things like that.
Mhm.
Have you figured out, other than just talking to the real estate investors? That's a great idea. Maybe realtors or anything like that. Is there any? Have you come across anything of how to make sure you find these programs before you jump into doing anything and just maybe missing something like that?
Well, the city council meetings, like, I'm not gonna say thanks to COVID, but now we are in a more virtual world. So I've been able to I've been able to watch all the previous city council meetings, the zoning meetings, just to see what other people are doing, what organizations are doing. And I'm doing research on, okay, this organization bought this building, or they were able to get zoning re the a property rezoned. And so, who are they and what's behind? And I plan on reaching out to these people too, because if you're not attending meetings that are put on actually by the city, like they just had a big last year, the Chicago Build Conference, and it was free, but I upgraded to this VIP, which was totally not VIP, but I was able to chat with other people because they had so many things I totally didn't know. There's a contractors association for women contractors, for minority contractors, for Hispanic, Black, like they have a contractors association for everyone. And I was there talking to every single person. They even have one for students where they'll come bid on your project with a mentor and they'll say, hey, you underbid on this area or you overbid, because I don't know what to pay someone for a new staircase. So I need to lean on, these other professionals to find out what to do. So I would say find more conferences, but the city council meetings, they've definitely been helpful just in learning like what the process, because there's been so many setbacks on this process because I had to get the before I can build anything, because my goal now that I have the 5 lots is to build 4 fourplexes on each lot.
Oh, that's gonna be nice.
Cool, I'm excited because this is where I grew up. This has been a forgotten neighborhood that nobody they kept saying a developer is gonna come, and I did not
Maybe
know
that's
that I
you.
would yeah, that would be
Yes.
me someday. Little old Crystal,
Well, I
from the
gotta
South
ask,
Side.
you actually watch those board meetings? Oh my goodness. Oh,
They're
how
not
boring.
bad, but
Okay.
the notes are very detailed too, so and you can listen to them fast forward. I don't listen to
Oh, that
anything
makes
regular speed
sense.
anyway, but
Yeah.
the notes are very detailed and very helpful. And I want to let you guys know that I've been patient. I've been patiently paying the taxes and paying these tickets until I found the right people to help me that I trust to take things to the next level. Because real estate is a people business. You cannot do this by yourself. If you're trying to do it, no, you don't know enough people. Then just keep waiting, keep meeting, keep talking, keep asking questions. Meet people that will answer all your questions and be very transparent, because you need that. Because I know people, a friend of mine got $35,000. He was investing with this Instagram famous investor, and his money's gone. Him and the
Oh,
guy's
yeah.
gone. And it's like, you need to wait. This is a hurry up and wait game. So I waited till I knew the right people to partner with, and they know more than I know. And so I'm just sponging off of them to learn. And then we're in this together.
You said something that was I want to ask you how like what you meant, because how I took it away, it was like that was a really insightful comment. You said that I think it's something to the effect of, if you don't know how to do it, it's probably you don't know enough people because the people are going to help you to do it. Is that what I heard you say? Like, how did you say it? Is that
Oh,
what you
yeah,
were
yeah, if
meaning?
you don't know, like, if you are trying to, let's say you're trying to do a flip. If you don't have a mentor that's done a flip and that's familiar with the process, they don't have to be like, familiar with that particular neighborhood, but you do want somebody that could be familiar in that neighborhood, and I'm talking you want all the details, like, you don't wanna flip any rocks or, leave any rock unturned. I'd love to mess up analogies like that. But you want someone that's going to walk you through the numbers. If you don't have a friend, and I'm not meaning like, a friend, because the five people you hang out with are going to make or break you. So you got to think about that. So if you're hanging out with some Instagram famous person that hasn't done this in real life or put it to practice, reduced it to practice, pavement feet to the pavement, then you need to wait till you meet someone like that. And if you think, oh no, I'm never going to meet, never say never, and you have to put it out there. You have to, because, like I said, this
Well, you have to put
dollar
yourself
deal,
out there.
yeah,
Like,
because
if you don't go out and try to meet people and try to find the people, they're not going to just come
they're
knocking on your
not.
door.
I used to love to tell my nephews, "A job's not gonna knock on your door and say, 'Hey, I hear you've been looking for me.'" No, but even just like the deals, they came to me because people knew my goals. They knew I was into real estate, and they're like, "Hey, let me give Crystal this information." And then it's up to you to take it to the next level. Because I just could have forgotten about it and let it, nope. And so I followed up. I pursue all opportunities, if they're a good fit for me too, because that's another thing. You wanna go with your comfort zone, like, something you don't understand, don't do it, but you need the right people also, like, and I always listen, explain it to me like I'm 5, because I wanna be able to explain this to someone else before I take the next step. Otherwise, it's not for me. And I'm not saying you need to know everything. Like, you don't need to know how to build the staircase. You just need to know that this is who you need to hire. This person doesn't have liens, this person doesn't walk off jobs, and this person is not overcharging you. That's the stuff that you need to know, because you do need to be able to trust people and let them do their jobs, because you don't want to alienate people, but you want them to do their jobs in a professional way, but you want it to be done so that you both are happy in the end. That's the
So,
main point.
So, what's it like knowing now what you know, but looking back, in 2005, you said you grew up in the hood, but now, like, where you are now. I mean, honestly, I mean, especially being an engineer, being you have multiple businesses, side hustles, but I call them businesses. You're really coming from where you were. You could easily have just said, "Oh, just life's gonna not keep knocking me down. I'm not gonna keep moving forward." But I just actually genuinely curious, like, what was it? Was there something inside of you that's inherent? Did somebody teach you something, to make you keep wanting to move forward?
I think it's just not wanting to to fail, what not even wanting to fail, because I college was so hard for me. Growing up,
Ah,
I knew I wanted to quote unquote be rich. So I would read these magazines and I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to have a house like that one day." I keep dreaming. Like, I have a goal. I want to have yacht parties, one day. And, I just have all these dreams of things that I want to do, but I know what I have to do to make them happen. And it's up to me to make those things happen. It's not up to anybody else. So that's with my follow through. I flunked out of college twice. And I went,
wait,
like,
not
when I
once,
went,
but
yeah,
twice.
twice. And I had all these scholarships, all these people believing in me, but I'm like, "I wanna go to these parties." So, and that's exactly what happened to me, but I always had that, that North Star, my North Star. I'm always following it, and it's like, "Okay, you need to get it together." Because I got better at college when I switched who I hung around with. I hung around with fellow engineers, and boom, I learned more because I was able to talk to them more about, class. "Hey, class was fun," or "Class sucked. Did you understand any of that?" So changing who I surrounded myself with, that set me up for success. And so I just kept that formula for the next venture and the next venture. Because even a fitness instructor, I'm certified, to teach classes, but I failed that written test the first time. When they were like, "Time for the written test," I was like, "Oh, I didn't know there was a test today." But it's something that I loved in my heart and I wanted. And so I was like, "Okay, I failed. Now I know what, questions to keep um to study for next time, and then I aced it the next time. So, a lot of things came easy, but a lot of things came hard, but it was something I wanted, and it was
Well,
up
I
to
love
me.
how you just you don't stop. Like you keep moving forward, and I love that as because very similar to me. Like I literally grew up like as poor as you can probably be. My parents,
Mm,
they were in a two-bedroom house, two-bedroom, one-bathroom house, probably like 800 square feet, and they were renting it. They could barely afford rent. But praise the Lord, just little by little, my parents started pushing forward to not
nice.
live in that, just become a victim and just say, "Oh, now life's going to knock me down." Well, it only had it if you let it knock you down and you stay
Yes.
down, then that you need to get back up. You need to get
Yep.
back up and move forward. That's the only way to actually get anywhere in life. So from there, well, I remember you shared just before we got on, you have a fourplex now. So is this one of the fourplexes you're building? Let's talk about that.
Yeah, so this is another thing about the whole being resilient too. It's fun making all these mistakes because I know that, I'm not gonna make these mistakes again. Like, I'm excited about getting all these mistakes out of the way. Just because prime example, for to build the first lots, I took out a hard money loan, back after, what was it, FinCon Beach last year. So I've been paying on the loan since May of last year, and I thought, "Okay, we're gonna ask the alderman to say yes." I already know all the neighbors because that's where I grew up, nobody objects, and he's gonna sign this letter, and then we can go to the next city council meeting and say, "Hey, we're ready, approve this." No, it's not how it went. We met with the alderman, and then he's like, "Okay, I'm gonna check, with the neighbors." So we met, we waited. I had the architect draw everything up. I had the lawyer draw everything up to get ready for the rezone. And then still crickets from the alderman. So then we met with him again in August. And then again, he's like, "Oh yeah, I like you. Yes, you sounds
Wait,
really
so
great."
what's hold on to August. What's the alderman? I have literally have no clue what that
Oh,
is.
so yeah, so the city of Chicago, they're broken into wards, and each ward has an alder person,
Huh.
alderman, woman, or person. And I actually had a letter from the previous alder woman, but she retired. So in May, that reset the whole process.
Oh man.
That's exactly what happened, and, they only meet once a month, and you have to be really early to get on the docket, so that slowed everything down. So January of 2023 is when we finally got the letter from the alderman signed, because then we met with him
That's
again
the
in
proof
November.
approval
Yeah,
for you to be able to build. Got it.
exactly. Yes. So it's funny too because in another mistake, so back in May when we thought, after that first meeting that he was gonna, we were gonna get this letter signed, we applied for all the building permits. And so after I got the letter in January, I'm so excited. I'm like, let me log in and because the permits are coming. We'll be updating our permits because we were like, let's get a place in line early. Well, the permits are all expired because of due to inactivity. Because
Oh man.
totally didn't know, that it would take that long to get the letter. So it's just little setbacks that keep happening. And then the cities, I'll tell you a little bit about the cities. So the cities that have neighborhoods that, have the vacant lots and that have, the ignored cities, they want they want tax income from these places. So that's why the city of Chicago was selling for a dollar. Now they have I think it's the land bank program or shy block builder. That's what it's called now. So they have a program where they want investors and developers to come in and be do what they don't have the manpower to do. And there's grants, there's programs, but they don't knock on your door and say, "Hey, I hear you've been looking for me." You have got to go out there and get it. So you got to do the research or just network with other people that are doing what you've done. I've reached out to some of the, like, I always take note of, what developers, who is where in what neighborhood, and just see if I know anyone or if I can contact anyone. I've been getting ignored, but I'm not going to stop. Maybe my
There you go.
chat
You
GBT
never.
scripts aren't good enough or I need to tweak or I need to use chat GBT to bring, help me with what to say because I'm just reaching out to people that are in the neighborhoods and the communities. And there's programs because some of the grant programs you can look up the previous winners. You can do a
Would
what's it
you talk
called?
to
Some
them? Is
kind
that
of
your?
Well,
Like,
you can do a record request to see what how they applied, and
oh,
even for the contractors, to get an estimate for the build.
yeah. So you can
But
see
there
what
were
they did.
5,
Yeah.
yeah, we had 5 different contractors bid, and the prices were way different, but at least that's another term, thing of due diligence that I'm doing just to get this right.
That's fantastic. And right now you're in the process of building this fourplex. Where or have you broken ground yet? Is it starting to
Nope.
build yet?
Yeah,
Okay.
no shovels in ground yet. So the next step is the city council meeting to have the city council approve because the letter from the alderman is just saying, "Yep, this is happening in my backyard. I approve." So now the city has to say, "Okay, yes." And now the building permit
Then
department
the
will
permit
say,
department.
"Yes." Yep.
So it does take a very long time for development. And honestly, like when you do any, I've never actually personally done development. My dad worked for,
Me
he was a
neither.
contractor and he did development with another bigger company. It just
Mhm.
takes so much time and lots of money. But in the
Yeah,
end, it pays off
right.
because you produce something that wasn't already there before and you make it worth so much more value than it was. And then hopefully, if you're able to profit from it, all that time is going to be worthwhile.
It is, and it is another thing about being the developer. The developer gets paid last, but you are not in it for the big payout. You're in it to make a change to your community, and you're bringing life. Like you are, it's your baby because you're putting all these other people to work, the contractors, the architects, the lawyers. They're getting a lot of money. But I think it's really cool because I'll be able to say, I did that. Like, how many people can say they built something?
Well,
But
most people can't. I mean, that's
right.
and
And I didn't know. I had
I've
no
never
idea
built
this.
anything from the ground up either. So I'm like, that is awesome that you're doing it. And plus, you're helping the community. I'll give you one thing
Yeah.
that I've been doing with the community. So you remember how I said in
Mhm.
Youngstown, Ohio,
Yeah.
um,
Oh, yeah.
really
I'm a
economically
Buckeye.
depressed?
That's
There,
yeah. That's where I finally
yeah.
graduated from Ohio State.
um, so the its area is so economically depressed that back in I was buying these houses for like I don't know 15,000 to $20,000 like really,
Wow.
but it was back in 2010, so
Yeah.
a little while ago,
Mhm.
and now they're I don't know 60, 70, $80,000 now. But back then people couldn't even buy homes back then. The people lived there.
Yeah.
They just didn't have the money to do it, and even now they can't buy homes. So because I like playing Monopoly, this is my version of Monopoly where I'm doing literally a rent to own. So they
Oh,
have a 10-year rent to
wonderful.
own. Yeah, and I literally give them the property outright when they're all done. And I'll be completely honest to say I probably wouldn't want to own these properties. I would want to transition into, bigger properties or more expensive properties. But the great thing is it gives people a home to live in permanently
Yeah.
and it brings up the community because when you have somebody that owns and they take value in the thing that they own, they're going to make sure it is nice and kept up, not like a rental. So above all, like
Mm-mm.
if we can help, and oh, you said this just a little bit ago, if we can help people, you brought the idea that we're in the people business. You're 100%
Yes.
right. Real
Yes.
estate is not about properties, even though that's a product of it. We're about people. In my opinion, everything in life is about people. Like real
Yes.
estate's not about a property, it's about people. Business is not about a product, it's about people.
Nope.
And life is not about experiences, it's about people. The more
Mhm.
people that you can help in this life, the better that your life and their lives get. And honestly, I'll be completely honest, Crystal, like when I switched my focus from making money to provide for my family because I had real estate, so I didn't have to work anymore. When I switched it to then, how many people can I serve? How many people can I help
Yeah.
to invest in real estate? I started becoming more fulfilled in my life.
Yes.
And the great thing that I found inside of real estate investing, it's got me to where I had enough money to be able to afford the thing. Well, let me give the four legacies that I think everybody needs to have in their life. Number one, the money legacy, to be able to buy, afford whatever they
Mhm.
want. Next one is a time legacy because money leads into time. Then the
Yes.
time legacy, you have time to go and do whatever you want. Then that time leads into relationships. Money leads into time leads into relationships. And that relationship legacy, you're shoring up all your relatives and coworkers and other people that you know. Like you're trying to build up your relationship so that hopefully people are looking at you as jumping into the last legacy, which is a service legacy. So
Yeah.
money leads into time leads in relationship leads into service. So as you build on each one of these, you get to the last one, which is service, which is so amazing because the focus is off yourself. I know I read the Bible. The Bible says that God opposes the proud but gives grace to the humble. And so if
Hmm.
I'm arrogant and prideful, thinking that I'm all, everything, well, God opposes me. And I don't want that. I want God to
Right.
actually be for me. But he says he gives grace to the humble. So those who reach the service stage, hopefully they're not arrogant. More than likely, if they get there and they're serving people, the
Yeah.
arrogance is kind of brought out of them because they are now realizing that it's about other people. Stop focusing on yourself. Does that make sense?
Oh, 100,000%. Because it is like the sense of pride of home ownership, even just those words, they're like expensive words. They're really good words. And they like the community when they're like there's more the home pride. It's better than having some, out of town investor that's not there with the boots on the ground. We did an episode on there was a company that came in. Luckily, the family didn't live there. This was their second home, but they demolished the wrong house. And there were neighbors that saw it happen.
Wow.
But imagine if you were that wouldn't happen. I'm not well, that wouldn't happen to a landlord or an investor that's not in tune with the community. Had that investor been in the community, knew the neighbors, they would have been like, "Hold on, stop, stop, stop. This is Crystal's house. Crystal did
Totally.
not order no demolition." So
Oh,
that speaks volumes for, the your impact on the neighborhoods that you are building and when you're, how Dustin, you are turning ownership over back. Sorry, I'm making your editing so hard. Um,
no
when you're
worries.
when you're turning the buildings, back to the neighborhood, that's unforgettable. And
I
so,
hope so.
that carries
Yeah.
forward. It definitely does.
So what I love and I believe, the more I serve people, the better my life gets. And I'll give you an example of
Yes.
this. So when I sell this property, quote unquote sell, but like it's getting a tenant in
Mhm.
there that's going to give me rent every single month. And then I'm going to give them the property when the whole 10 years is up. In the end, I'm telling them, treat me like the bank. I want you to have ownership. Like all you're
Yes.
doing is you're paying me, and I want you to feel like this is your property. If you want to paint the walls, if you want to add this or add
Mhm.
that,
Mhm.
like as long as it's raising the value, which usually everything they're going to
Yes.
do is going to raise the value. I want you to feel like it's yours, and in the end, it is yours. In fact, I think I've had two properties turn over, meaning actually gave them over to the
Oh,
new homeowners, and they
wow.
are so ecstatic about that.
Well, another thing that I learned from attending those real estate meetings early on, a lot of the investors, they were like, "Well, yeah, we give the tenants gifts, but they seem like gifts, but they're really a gift to the property." They're like, "Okay, it's been 2 years, let's redo your carpet." And so, they think, and you can tell them, you can pick out the carpet, or if you want hardwood floors, let's do that. But you're increasing the property value, and it gives you a chance to see what's going on in your property too. But that's also, like strengthening your relationship with your tenants. But that's a huge I would be excited, my landlord come in and
Totally.
wants to, make some upgrades, like, "Oh, how's your fridge?" And stuff like that. And, it's a gift to the tenant while also, a gift to the property too.
I like that idea too because I've done it a couple times. I've heard other people do this more often, but like let's say a tenant's been in there for a number of years. Well, let's say for Christmas they give them like a $50 or $100 gift
Yeah.
card to to Home Depot or
Or
Lowe's. It's like
cleaning, yeah.
or, or clean. There
Maid.
you go. That's a
Maid
good thought.
service.
That's a good
Yeah.
thought because we know that people don't take care of other people's things as well as they take care of
Yes.
their own. And so if you
Yes.
give them
Yes.
incentive to also do it, but then at the same time, if you take care of your property, it also takes care of them. Now, what's the future for you? Like how quickly government always takes
Yeah.
forever. Government's so slow. It's they're they they're not fun to work with. Now, what's your future with this one property? And you're going to do all four of these lots the same way?
Yeah, all 5. Yeah, the
Oh,
plan is to
five.
have all 5, yes, and then the plan is to actually so my goal is to really impress the alderman, like, okay, she is about her word. She did great because also I want the housing to be workforce, not just Section 8, affordable, which no matter which tenant you want, you have to do due diligence because there are amazing hardworking Section 8 tenants. They're amazing, hardworking, market rate tenants. So it's up to you to make that decision. But I want the alderman to say, okay, she's proven her worth. Let's give her some more property, or not give, but I have plans for transforming the whole neighborhood, because these five fourplexes, it's a great start, but I want to keep going. And so I'm building this relationship with the local alderman. And remember, I'm doing this from afar too. And so it's been a lot of back and forth, but my goal is to just completely change this neighborhood, because this is my comfort zone. So you guys, if you're trying to think of ideas, it has to be your comfort zone also. It's something you're familiar with. I've been in the DC area for what, like 17 years, but it's expensive here. This is not my target market. So I'm looking at places that, it's my target market. It fits, it makes sense. The math, you always do the pencil, the math will say yes or no. Math is emotionless. So you definitely have to do that math and figure out
So
what
did you
works best.
already, because building something new, it's pretty expensive right now. Like just all
Yeah,
everything's expensive,
materials.
but materials are really expensive. So you've already worked out how much it would cost to build the fourplex, and then how much you could rent it for. Are you gonna be
Yeah,
making passive
all of that,
income on
and
the
the
property?
bank. So I'm, after the permits are approved is when I could, actually get the construction loan. So the bank does their due diligence too. So all the paperwork, the pro forma, all of that's been filled out, like, all of that, is, like, preliminary has been given to the bank. But they're also gonna do their due diligence on the contractor that I picked, so it doesn't end there. Like, the next round of work comes in underwriting,
Yeah,
which
it seems like there's so much red tape. Like you're spending your
listen.
money.
Yeah.
They're not spending their money. That's a
No.
lot of like they don't in my opinion, they don't
Yeah,
need
I
to be
do.
in that detail. That's just crazy. And that just extends the process. And eventually, if just so much money comes out of your pocket, eventually you might go bankrupt. I'm not saying you will, but just like it's
No.
like you the longer it takes, the harder it is for a developer to actually do it. So I'm hoping that they start figuring out how to get rid of all this red tape. I mean, does that feel
I
like it's
know.
just extending the timeline?
It is, and I mean, it makes sense though. It's protecting me and them also, and it's also, making sure that I can do this. It's just like in college, the weed out courses. This is it's designed to the people who aren't really serious about this, um, to get them out of the game as early as possible. So, if you have the
Let me
right
play a little
team,
devil's advocate and
uh
say
huh,
that they are trying. They believe wrong button. So they believe that they understand what is the right way to do it, or the way that they want you to do it. What if it's not the best way? What if it's one way and there's like eight ways to do it? They're they're the saying that we know the exact way to do it, and we need somebody else to spend all their time and money to do it the way that we want to do. Especially you're like, let's say I'm saying the government, not saying the bank. The bank, you have to. They're
man, no,
we want them to do their due diligence because they're the ones lending the money. They're going to make sure you do it right. But I'm just talking specifically about the government, where the government is saying, "Well, we know what's best, so you do it the way that we want you to do it." I'm like, "Well, if you did, you would already be doing it, and there's a reason why it's not being done." And so my little pushback is when the government steps in and says we know better and so we're going to tell you how to do it. I'm going to tell you that the government loves spending other people's money. That's like their favorite thing to do.
yeah.
They're really they're good at spending the money, not on what it goes to. So all that to say,
Mm,
if you are a business owner, if you're an investor, you're putting your hard-earned dollars, you're going to make sure you do it right. Hopefully you're not depending on the government to tell you how to do it right. You're going to go to, like you said in the beginning, talk to other real estate investors. You're going to talk to the banks. You're going to talk to people who've done it before. The people that have done it before are not the people in the government. Does that make sense?
yes, yeah, I was just gonna say that too. It's like like even the bigger deals, like the partnerships, the syndications, they have their own money. They don't need to go to the government for any of this stuff. I mean, they would have to come to the government for the zoning, but sometimes they're 10 steps ahead on those processes in the first place. And it is, I can tell you, it's a lot easier for other people too, because there's out one of the banks I was talking to when we were on the call, he's like, "Yeah, we're gonna see what the appraisals look like in that neighborhood." And it's like, "Okay, you're making it clear that you don't wanna invest in this neighborhood," because even I tried to first of all, I still have the original loan from 2005, and it's an adjustable rate, and it's up to what, like 10% now, because It's in a red line zip code. I tried to refinance that property and my credit score is in the 800s unsuccessfully
Just
so
because
many
of that area,
times.
they're saying that, yeah,
Yeah,
that
it's a red
area.
line
That's sad.
area and, it pisses me off, but
Totally.
it is what it is, it's just it's up
You
to
get
me to
well,
to do the work
when
and
what you do
pivot.
is you never stop. Like, you're gonna figure out a way.
Right, yeah,
That's what we
yep,
do as business owners is we don't stop. And here's the thing, I think as entrepreneurs, we're problem solvers. There's a problem
yes,
that's gonna come in the way. We figure out how to get around that problem. And
yes.
so, like, that's say like you're saying, well, crap, we have a sorry to be a little crass, but like a 10% interest rate. I'm trying to refinance, but you're not refinancing me. Well, we got to figure out like that's what we do is we
Yeah,
figure out other ways around these issues that either get imposed on us or that just happen. We got
they
to
just
figure it out,
happen.
and you're not stopping, which is what I love.
No, I'm not quitting. Nope. Yeah, it's just a game of figuring it out. And then like I said earlier, I love making these mistakes. I love having these setbacks because this is not going to happen again the next time. I'm learning, I'm documenting, and then I'm lining up my ducks to have, a more it'll be so smooth. Like I'm not going to say I'll be doing these in my sleep, but I'll be building like this fifth fourplex is totally going to be a totally different experience from the first fourplex. So
It totally
that's what
will.
I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to getting to that 5th, but just
So
making all the mistakes on this first one.
yeah, and honestly, when you have those mistakes, you're able to share those things. Now, I
Yeah.
quickly want to touch on you're doing a podcast called Stacking Deeds. Like, what's the
Yes.
purpose? Yeah, what's the purpose of that? It seems like you're able to give, which is what we've been talking about this whole time, and giving out your experiences and the wrong way to do it right, or wrong way to
Mhm.
do it, and then the right way to do it as well. But yeah, like, is that like just another form of you giving?
Yes, and we want people to buy their first piece of investment property. There are a lot of people that are on the fence or they don't know where to start, so we wanna give you voices of people that can tell you the whole bunch of different ways to invest in real estate. We had, Scott Carson, we had him on talking about notes, investing in notes. That was a
Yep,
really fun conversation. We had Suni Rao, we've had Paula Pant, like, we've had people that are investing in so many different ways, but they're just sharing because some people they love I don't like managing. I love property managers, but some people don't like property managers.
I
And
love
they
property managers.
share yeah,
They're my
me
best friend.
too. But they want to keep that extra 10% or however, much you pay. And even Grace, we had Grace on a while ago and she talked about how she gets her tenants from local charities because they're just women that just need a month or 2 to get back on their feet, and that's a grant, like a government subsidized program, and you would never think and she's like, "Oh, yeah, and I met the group, the actual charity in a Facebook group." These, like,
Wow.
the Buy Nothing groups, it was like a similar group to that, so, you never know when you're in a position to help someone, and so that gives her great joy to be able to help these women, that, domestic violence, whatever reason that, they need a place to stay, and she's able to provide that, via investing. It's
That's
cool. So,
That's
yeah.
and also what I love about podcasting is meeting awesome people too, and you
Yes.
meet some really, really awesome people, awesome real estate investors. In fact, my
Mhm.
conference, the Real Estate Wealth Builders Conference, came about because I met so many awesome real estate investors podcasting and YouTubing. It's just getting
Yeah.
networking, getting around. But
Yeah.
Crystal, you've been absolutely fantastic. I know people want to check out the Stacking Deeds. How else can people find you online or connect with you?
Yeah, so I'm Condo Crystal, in the Twitter and Instagram streets. It's, CONDOCRYSTAL, spelled it totally normal, and then stackingdeeds.net or wherever you listen to your podcasts is where you can find the podcast. I'm trying to be more consistent on posting. I'm such a consumer of social media and not as much as a producer, so even if you follow me or message me, I'll see it and say hi. But yeah, but we love and we take questions from listeners. We've had a lot of cool questions because even one of the listeners was like, "Hey, here's a property in Detroit." She sent us the Redfin listing, and we went through step by step of how we would evaluate that deal, so you can see if it was a deal or no deal. We even had one where we asked ChatGPT a lot of different questions. 'Cause I was like, "What do contractors lie about, or what do realtors lie
Ooh,
about to get your
yes.
business?" Because that's just you're just arming yourself with tools to negotiate and, know things.
Absolutely. Crystal, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank
Super pumped.
you.
Everybody check out Stacking Deeds. Crystal's awesome. I've known her for, oh, shoot, we went
Thanks, yeah.
skiing.
Yeah,
It was like
think
actually,
on ski,
yes,
yeah.
that was so much fun.
Forgot, yeah.
But man, it's great having you on, Crystal, and hopefully be
Thank
able to chat
you.
with you soon again. But thanks again.
Definitely.